Today's restorative is going to start with supporting the spine at both ends of the bookends of the spine. So I want you to build a ramp. So you're going to have a blanket roll under your bolster. You can also use a block. That's if you have 3 blocks, though. You can put something under the bolster to bring it up. And then I would encourage you to have a blanket or a towel folded on top of the short end of the bolster. Now, when you sit in front of the bolster, your sacrum is right at the short end, right? And you're not sitting on top of it, but what you will need is a belt. And I want you to make a big loop, drop it over your head so it's around your torso, like you're going to use a hula hoop, but drop the hoop all the way down and bring the soles of your feet together and scoop up your feet. And the belt's going to lie on the inside. Okay, even if you've done this forever, there are days you end up putting the belt on the outside and you wonder, why is this not working? So it's on the inside, and then I move the belt as far down to my pelvis, and then I slide in some blocks under my thighs, and I'm going to actually contour. So I'm going to kind of turn the block, even though it's a block is a block, right? They're not round, but I'm going to pivot that so it supports the knee splaying out. And then as I guide my spine back, me and my spine, it's the me and my spine pose. Take a sandbag, place it from the heart to the belly. And then as you add that weight bearing for the breathing muscles and the abdominal muscles, right? Let it land and shift it so you feel when you're breathing the weight training for the diaphragm. So you want to feel in the abdominals there's resistance with the weight, with the sand. Now, as long as your head feels supported enough and your neck has that nice curve. So you might feel at the C7, so the base of the cervical vertebrae here, you don't have to sit up, but that base of the cervicals that kind of points out, and then all the way up to the brain stem, that should feel like it's curving and you're stretching it back, right? So you're creating extension in your spine. Okay, arms are open, chest is stretching the whole time, and there's positive sensations that are occurring if you focus into them. So relax your eyes and gather your attention on the even rhythm of your breath. And feel the muscles moving against the sand and the sand moving into those core muscles. Let your arms relax. Notice if you're holding them or you're gripping in the upper band of the shoulders, just to have them out to the side. So if your arms are out and you're tightening, take the time to be a little less ambitious and soften, slowing down the breath and shifting your focus into that current in the heart and the lungs. Take just a few more slow breaths here. Checking in with resting your throat, as if you're here to, digest this practice, right? You want to take the time to absorb each pose, processing it, giving it time, noticing what's positive in each of these. Let a whole body to heal. And now slide the sand off and unbuckle. And you're going to need your ball. So as you keep this kind of perspective of hip, I mean, it's inner hip here, adductors, has a little focus, and we don't kind of do too much. It's pretty mild. But grab the blocks and then slide the feet in to about hips distance and take your ball and place it to the upper outer left thigh. You know, sometimes I kind of push it under, but that's going to affect how my spine centers, right? So if I try to get the prop to do more stuff, I'm just going to affect my posture. So just keep it so it's right to the upper outer left thigh, and it's kind of just, you just push it in so it's going to support your hip motion. So right foot crosses to left knee, and you might slide down a little bit. I mean, it's not like you're going to stay pinned to the bolster. Um, you know, so it's going to change, right? You're going to, shifting happens. So as you shift your knees to that left side, you're going to hold onto the right knee and you're stretching into that right hip. Now, I like this block on the side. I kind of position it so it's still under my thigh a little bit. And reasoning for support, my bottom foot, the left foot is turned out, so it's not trying to push down, but you know, it's natural that separation is going to occur here. So when you hold on to the right leg, it could be, I mean, there's three bones to your leg, right? You got the femur, you got the kneecap, you got the tibia here. So you're actually affecting all of them, probably primarily your femur and your kneecap. You know, the tibia is important to have. So when you're holding onto the knee area or just below, you know, kind of feel where the side span of that right thigh all the way into the hip has sensation. Right arm stretches back besides your head. I'd say an important focus today is to get each of these shapes, I would say kind of pristine, try to really focus on the alignment and see what comes of that, how you absorb the sequence. So as you hold onto that right leg, remember it could be below the knee, you're going to feel that you're just holding it first and maybe kind of pulling a little bit towards the left. And then to hold it, you have to go directionally somewhere, right? Whether it's just centered, it's moving one direction. Okay, and now let's just let go of the knee and get our belt, which is probably something you're sort of lying on. So see if you can take it out and bring your knees back center and take your belt, place it on your right foot. Okay. Keep that block over there on the left side, support you, keep the ball. And now as you lean the knees back to the right, or sorry, left, not the right, you're going to stretch the right leg to that left side. Now what I like to do is kind of play with the circulation in my hip. So since I'm supported in my spine, I have the belt under my right foot. I'm holding it with my left hand, and I might even bring my hand a little further down towards my ribs. I might be closer towards the foot, which I can't get my foot, and I'm not going to aim for it. I'm aiming for changing the circulation in my physiology, which I think is what restorative is kind of all about, right? You take these shapes, if you get kind of bored in them, it's all a benefit to the circulation in your body. So see if you can you lived in your body for a while, help it out however you can. And doesn't need to be stressed out, but likely you're going to feel some stresses, right, on the muscle belly in this position, I think. I get a little bit of, like, this is my full range that I want to deal with. I'm not going to push it further. So let's take just a few moments. What we're doing this for is to help get ready to roll the glute. So I want you to kind of wake up at the joints, right? The hip joint on that right side. That reach of the leg to the left. Take just another couple breaths. Your right hand could be anywhere. It could be feeling the ribs so you know you're breathing well. Doing your little check-in with breath. Your hand is your breath buddy. Okay. Now bend to the right knee and take the belt off and bring your knees back center, pointing up. Okay. Now take the ball and roll it under the right rear And then as it's under that rear, you're just going to move your hips side to side and massage into the area that you were just kind of pointing the stretch to for the last two shapes. Okay. So as I'm gliding across the right glute zone, right, I want all my weight, well, as much of the weight I can put on the ball, right? Where the ball is, I'm not trying to, hover over the ball and just sinking onto it. And then the hips as they sway side to side, feeling the movement of them, right? Not just drop on the ball, but move your hips, especially to the right, because that's where the ball is. Even to the point you feel like I'm sliding off the bolster. Okay, we'll get back positioning well. But as you move your hips side to side, take a few more focused glides on the muscle. Really, you're trying to stimulate the lymph vessels to drain more easily. So for our lymphatic system, so I'm using a soft ball for this. Yeah, a hard ball is a little bit, makes things a little tense in your nervous system. So softer is better. Not so much bracing. Okay, now as we lower down, we're going to keep the ball on that right side. So I'm going to purposely push back a little bit. So I'm right up against the bolster. It's worth it. Ball at the upper outer right thigh. Okay. And the left foot lifts and crosses to the right knee. Just take that block on that right side and just put it right. So when your knees lean to the right, or your leg parts, right, you have support. And you might notice one side feels like it's slightly different than the other. Welcome to your body. So as you're holding the left knee, you're going to get that feeling of the left hip zone, right? These nerve-rich tissues, which is what we roll when we get to rolling. But now that you're on side two, let the left arm stretch back and simply feel, where do you notice the center track of the body moving, right? You don't want this to be dull and stagnant in your practice, and you don't need to wake it up and be, overly enthusiastic with breath. In fact, that's the sympathetic nervous system, right? We're trying to downregulate and let the body restore and heal, rest and digest. So as you feel the left arm reaching back, if this is a strain for your shoulder with the arm back, move the arm out to the floor. Okay? So you decide, but as you hold on to that left knee for a few more breaths, feel the arch through the spine. Maybe you don't know where your lungs are exactly, but they're somewhere in that upper back area. There's some lungs there. So let those rest into the bolster. And when we're doing any chest opening, it's a little more stressful on our breathing, right? When we're on our back and opening up the chest, if you were face down, it would be so much easier. So just honor that. Maybe the breath is slower. Maybe you're just kind of teasing the lung tissue a little bit. Let go of the knee. Okay, grab your belt. And you could reach over to the left foot with your belt here. You could do that and reach over and place the belt around the left foot and then stretch the leg over like that. I kind of like to sneak it in. I'm also really curious about holding the belt with my right hand, belt under the left foot, and just creating some movement glides in these bones of the leg, right? You're just kind of feeling sometimes from the level of bones. You got, three main parts to this leg, right, that you can really see and define when you're moving. So just feeling them try to work in one line. You're trying to get them to go one line over to the right side so you can feel that stretch into your hip. The things we do to help our bodies. So you might have your left arm out on the floor. You might have it resting to be kind of a breath buddy right to your ribs to encourage them to inflate. I know they're going to inflate no matter what you do, but some of us barely breathing here, right? We keep our breath kind of stuffed in the chest. So distribute the breath and this whole kind of core basin. And you might get lucky and feel a little breath in the belly, kind of a little twist in the abdominal organs. No one else is going to do it for you, right? So take the time to focus here. Breathe. And now as you're holding, there is resistance in the hand. For me, that's probably what starts to bug me a little bit, is the gripping. So take the time to do a little nano bend of the left knee. And then as you move the leg back center, slide the belt off your foot and then find that ball. It's under your right hip and you're going to roll it under the left rear. And then you're just going to move your hips side to side. Now you could keep it in that figure four. You can move the foot back to the knee if that helps you kind of glide your hips side to side. You know, sometimes when I'm just with both soles of the feet down and moving my hips, I don't get as much of a glide on the glute zone. But if I kick my foot up, then I do feel like it kind of swerves. Yeah, I kind of like that. So some people remind me, this is better, right? But I think they're both pretty good. You might feel like you get more weight on the ball, perhaps, if you have both feet down. But, you know, I would play with it. If you have a different idea besides figure four or both feet to the floor, go with that, right? Maybe you kick the leg up and you make circles. You draw your name, right, in cursive writing. That's always a good one. And then as you move your hips side to side, press and go all the way to the end of the muscle that you can feel, right? The muscle belly is all heated now. It's warming up. This is good stuff, right? We don't necessarily have to stretch to become more flexible. We can do rolling and massage. That helps us as well, okay? So if you got the belt still kind of laying on your body, you're going to put it off to the side now so you can keep it rolling. And then we're going to actually kind of spin in the hip, and I want you to lean down to the tail. Okay, take the ball, place it center of the knees, so right in the middle of the knees. And then I'm going to squeeze the ball, okay? Find it where you can adapt to pushing into the ball and really press in like you're trying to pop it. So the adductors are like fully engaged, right? Your leg pits, pelvic floor is like, okay, is this what it feels like to be a pelvic floor? Okay, so as you squeeze, can you imagine trying to do this with your legs up in the air with your tailbone in this position? That would be very hard. So I want you to keep a squeezing. Okay, stretch the arms back overhead. If they can't go fully, that's okay. You can bend them a little bit. You can have them towards the ceiling. Okay, we got options. Options are us. All right, now try to keep squeezing that ball. And you're going to reach the arms besides the knees and try to come up. Now, I'm going to slide my feet down because that helps me come up to sitting. And I want you to keep a squeezing. We're not going to go back and forth because that's not the greatest thing for our back. So squeeze. Okay. Now, lean back just a little bit. Don't lie back on the bolster. And then hold the backs of the thighs. Hold, so you're holding, you're kind of moving the hands apart a little bit, and then you're going to lean back and lift the feet up. So that's the only thing. So lift the feet up. They don't have to lift up very far. You can always put a block under them and just pretend you're lifting them up. So feel that you're kind of rocking into the tailbone now, which is not a place you hang out very often. Okay, so squeeze the ball. That's a little tricky, huh? Okay, now put the feet down, put the ball over to the left. And we're going to try to move that ball to the abdominals where we were just kind of hopefully working, although I got to admit, I got some hip flexor kind of feeling. So as you turn to your bolster, let's take our ball and place it so you can feel like this is where I want some focus here in the lower track from navel down. Okay, this area from navel down. So I'm going to turn. And I'm going to let the legs kind of stack a little bit. I'm going to put my right thigh to my left foot because it's just more comfortable for me. And I'm going to put the ball is at the base of the bolster, right? It's not on the short end, right? It's not next to my thigh, it's at my core. I'm going to turn and place my hands down and then try to just lift up my chest. Good luck. Okay, so a little bit of a lung twister. Okay, a little bit of an abdominal, a lot of actions going on internally. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to lean into the ball, breathe, okay, and then lift the chest up. So take a few moments like the little tummy time exercises, okay? But they're, how come we never call it like belly time? Have you ever thought of that? We always call it tummy time. Okay, because it just sounds so much better. Okay, lean down like you're doing little lizard push-ups, right? So you're bending your elbows, you're leaning down, putting pressure. Last one. Hallelujah. Okay, now take the ball out. There's been some energy here from what we were doing. And then take a sleeping sage pose. So now you'll feel ribs touch down, okay? And let your head turn to where it's comfortable. This is a gliding joint, right? The cervical and these vertebrae glide. So as your head turns to the right, have adequate support for your neck. Not too much, not too little. So you might have to kind of move the blanket so it's conforming to your comfort. That's a whole new idea there, conforming to comfort. So the right thigh might rest on the left foot. And if this hurts your knee, you would just bring your legs to stack, okay? When in doubt, stack, okay? Or you could put that ball under the knee. I would be a little wary of that when you take a twist. But when we do side stretch, yes, the ball. So lean in, rest on the bolster, and just feeling the breath at the chest. Noticing the heart on this left side. It's a little bit more obvious with the pumping of it with the largest arteries on this side. So you might notice that. Okay, now when we slide the hands back and we just take ourselves into side sage. So come on up and then just turn your bolster. Now, if you have a round bolster, get that. I'm not going to pull out my round bolster, but if you have a round one, slide it in here. You would be kind of switching them out for these two poses. But you're going to place the blankets in a stack. And if you have a sandbag, get that. Okay. Be careful on the knees here. Maybe bring them together. It's never worth pulling your knee. And then when you lean, take the ball under the inside of that to place it on the inner side of that left or right knee, sorry. And I like a block overhead. I don't always stay with it, but I like to have the opportunity to have something to touch to. And then I place the sand on the outer right hip. You can keep it on the hip, you can bring it to the ribs, but for weight bearing and bones, bone density, I think your best option is to keep it on that hip. Okay, just put it on the hip, and you could turn it lengthwise if it will stay. Keep it on the side. Weight is weight, right? Whether it's around the hip or it's touching all the way down the thigh. Either way, weight is weight. Using weights or using weights, right? So as I reach overhead, if this is not adequate height for me, I'm going to get my other block, right? I'm going to stack them up. So I have a little bit more. If this is bothering your throat whatsoever, right, have your blanket a little higher. Right. Sometimes it's not only the neck, but it could be, other areas feel congested, it's hard to swallow, you want to have enough support. So starting to notice those different awareness you don't notice in your daily habits, right, when you get in these shapes. And as you're reaching with the right arm, that right hip is slowly starting to stretch. So the front of the hip flexor, the psoas. So I might kind of nudge the ball a little bit back with my left foot and see if I can stretch the right thigh back to stretch into my psoas. And I also have to be careful I don't try to push into and tighten my jaw and my neck. So relaxing is a key. Feel the left arm rest on the floor. The arm between the bolster and the blankets is ultra passive. You know, those two words don't usually link up mentally, ultra passive. But rest your head. That might be the thing you have to keep reminding yourself. Relax your head. Stretch the ribs. Your right arm can stay reaching. It can also move, explore. You can certainly let the right hand relax on the hip or down onto the bolster. Okay. And this feels really good. What I kind of wish I had was like a yoga strap to hold with my right hand to stretch the right side of my neck. That would be kind of nice. But what I could do is just move the sandbag down a little bit and just hold on to it and truly relax my neck. Rest my head, stretch the neck. This is a good way to stretch it. And now when we begin to shift, we're going to let that right arm lower down. Okay, so we're all with the right arm down. And then just start to nudge the sand off your hip. Okay, and we're going one direction right now into some, I would say, arm, spine, core balance work. Okay, so and it'll be both arms. Okay, as you roll to the left, we're going to come around and we're going to take our two blocks. We'll get to the other sage poses in a few. Okay, and have a little recess in the middle. So if you got a wall near you, you're going to bring your feet close to the wall. If you need blanket under your knees, add it. But what I'm encouraging us to do is to take our blocks under our hands, okay, and position so that you're in this. These blankets can go away, I think. Okay. All right, so position so your thighs are on that bolster. If you got a round bolster, I don't know, it might be easier, but you could try it. I don't think it's going to be horrible, but I do want you to try to use the wall. So if you are close enough to walk, you are exempt from this. Okay. So feel when you bring your elbows down. Okay. It's even if you're okay on your wrists, on your hands, or your wrist issues are okay, it's probably not a good idea to wear them out anyway. So even if you're okay pushing into your hands like this, doesn't feel the best personally. So elbows are down, your hands are kind of pushing together a slight, but they're not pushing deep, but they're touching. And I want you to feel where the core is lengthening. Remember a little while ago we had the ball at the lower belly zone. We were trying to lift the chest. So feel when your elbows are down, just the principle of the bone supporting this curve, right? My elbows are kind of a little far back. They're not forward. So this helps this curve, right, in my body. Let's just say that, curve in the body. Okay, now if my feet are not at the wall, I just have the toes under and I have to do a little extra work to stay up, just a little bit. Okay, so notice if you're gripping your glute muscles, your rear. If you're pretty comfortable there, Yay, you're using your core a little bit more. So once you stay here for a little while, you might feel, oh, this is a lot of work. You know, your neck is usually rounding a lot during the day. We're usually kind of dumping forward. So to kind of redirect the circulation, the traffic in my neck in a different way, I might get tired pretty fast. Okay. Meaning, don't do this as often as I could, or I should. Okay. Now, when I start to come back, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to put the blocks a little forward and bring your palms onto them. Now, you still have your hips stretching. You're going to bring your knees to the ground. So you definitely have the knees up. And I want you to arch through the spine again. So you're moving the arch a little higher. Now, my knees are down, my bolster's under my thighs. Breathe. Okay, blocks are forward. And now I'm going to position my hands. Now, if you can't put your hands on the blocks, then put your elbows, okay? You're going to position your hands a little further forward. You're going to lift up the thighs, okay, off the bolster. Okay, yes, you can use the bolster. You can still be on it, okay? But try to lift the thighs off the bolster. You're probably moving a little bit away from the wall now. Breathe. It only helps. Okay, now, when you come on down, shift back and move the bolster a little forward, and don't worry about the wall now. We're going to place the ball and try to hover. Okay, so we're going to have the ball at the belly button, and you're going to push into your elbows or your hands and just reach the hips. Try to get the hips to lift up. Okay, so instead of this drop, I'm not saying you're doing this, but you're trying to push into that ball a little bit so the navel's at the ball. Oh, the ball's at the navel. Okay. Whoop. Okay, now lower the knees. Okay, lose the ball. Place your block, your bolster, not your blocks, on top of your blocks and stretch out the chest area. Arms reaching on the bolster bench, right? Your bolster's on the blocks. Weave the stretch of the breath into the ribs and the kidneys so you can feel your head lean down. You can wiggle your hips side to side. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Now, let's turn our bolster lengthwise under the core. Okay. And then take the hands under the shoulders. Feet could touch the wall. And then round your back into cat curl. Chin to chest, tail draws under. Inhale, reach the chest slightly forward and the hips. This could be interesting for you to kind of move your hips back, but not focus on just lifting your tail up. Just feel the hips move a little bit back, the chest forward, and then round your back, chin to chest. Okay, now toes under, lift the knees up. Stretch out into what we would call an inverted V, or some of us see this as downward facing dog. So we have the hands push the floor away. I mean, you might touch the bolster. This is the idea in restorative yoga with the bolster for down dog is to bring your head to it, but sometimes it doesn't meet the bolster. Okay? That's okay. Now feel that reach of the arms, the sitting bones, and then take your feet a little wider and walk your hands back to your feet. Make sure that if you're at the wall, you don't get, tossed back into a somersault. So you might have to step a little bit away from the wall. Otherwise, you'll bounce off of it. So the knees bending and the hands relaxing. Either drain out the shoulders and the spine with the arms resting, or hold your elbows. Okay? I like to put my arms forward on the bolster because I get this natural traction and pull to stretch my back and my shoulders. Okay, mostly my shoulders. And then my head kind of leans down into the kind of hammock of my arms. There's all these interesting things you can do just with your limbs, right, to support you. All these years in this body, and you can still find some new things. Okay, some new ways to support your structure. Okay, now if your seat is reaching to the wall, it's kind of easier because now I just kind of rest into the wall. It supports me. I love the wall for this. Now, if you don't have a wall, it's okay. You're depending a little more on your hamstrings. You're like hamstring reliant. Okay, Operation Hamstring. Now, when I reach my chest forward, right, kind of reach forward, kind of think about I think about an elephant trunk on this one. So I'm kind of reaching forward. There's always further to go. And then I bring my hands on down. I bend my knees a lot. And then I walk on forward, crawling. And then take the feet to stretch back. Lower down your knees. Arch the spine. Hips back. You can have a bigger arch that way. And then draw the tailbone under. And then walk on forward so that your thighs meet the bolster edge. And you stretch down and then bring your arms back into Superman pose, I like to call this one. This is your ultimate tummy time one, right? When locust pose, your arms are back, palms are towards the thighs, arms stretch back, shoulders roll back, chest forward. Whew. Use the motion of the chest to strengthen your back. So don't underestimate the power of circulation in the chest here. Unlimited breath supply. Okay, now come on down with the hands, elbows by the sides, knees resting. Okay, and then press down through the wide reach with your fingers. Come up, and then let's take our blocks to the side. Okay, and then grab our blankets. We're going to have one under and one on top to build our sleeping sage pose. Okay. So then we just lean our right hip next to the bolster. Take a ball, right? So I'm leaning, I got the ball here, and this side, yeah, I don't feel quite as flexible in my abdominals. So what I'm gonna do is press into the ball with my abdominals, and don't get too focused on it. It has to be the navel or anything. Just the ball is there, that's the key. And I'm leaning in, and I'm gonna stretch the chest up. Okay, now you might even place your hands on the blanket. This could be too much back pressure for some of us. But if you have the hands down, that's if your wrists are not, your wrist hurt. But if your hands are down, you could turn the hands out so they don't have to be straight up. You could turn them out. You can arch the spine. You definitely need to breathe. It only helps. Okay, now I lean in, my little lizard push-ups here. Lean down, push into the ball. Ball pushes into the core, and then try to lift up, kind of like a little trampoline. I know it sometimes feels like your body's rebounding abilities get depleted with age, but try to use the ball for that rebounding in the skin, right? So it's pushing into that large organ, even if it's just the belly parts. And then as you lean down, okay, you're going to take the ball away and then just take that twist and lower your ribs towards the bolster. Maybe they rest wide. And then the arms relax open, your head turns to the left. Okay. Now let the shoulders release. Right. Feel how the spine is in motion on that left side. Feel how it reaches over, opening up into the back. Try to make the breath slow, but also expansive in the core when you're twisting. So your abdominal organs are going to have a little bit of a workout, right? Your thoracic, the mid, vertebral column out to the ribs is getting that the muscles between, right, the ribs, the intercostals are expanding and moving. You're trying to get more elasticity there. So this is nice to just slide the hands back and then push, and then you're going to just turn your bolster. So just pivot, stack your blankets. Yeah, you don't have to make a big movement with your hip, but I turn the bolster across. Maybe you're using a round bolster. Grab the block or blocks, however many you tend to use on this, and stack them up on that other side of the blankets. I love a ball under the knee, okay, on the top knee. So the left knee on the side is reaching further back than the right. So I just put a ball, and I might actually try to move my leg back so the hip can do it. But remember, the knee is kind of that's the decider. If your knee doesn't like it, you've got to back off and bring it towards the right. Okay, so when you're looking down, go with feeling, not how does it look, right? Feel how it reacts. And then once you establish how the knee is supported, then you can get that sand, and you might be surprised at how much blanket you need to feel comfortable. And if you feel like this is still not enough, fold up the other blanket, right? Make enough height so it feels comfortable. That's what it's about, is the feeling, not so much is it exactly this as I did on the other side, is as high as my bolster, the blanket stack. It's how does it feel? And you can move your head to adjust the sensation in your neck, right? So for me on one side, right, I feel a little different. Clearly we have different organs on each side, and even circulation in our throat can be different. But when you're leaning down, let the left arm stretch overhead maybe. And remember, not for everybody to have the arm reaching, not for everyone. If this is too much on the shoulder, then you can certainly move your left arm around. Go both directions, or let the left hand rest on the bolster or down the side. You get to decide. Okay, but use that sandbag as traction for your rib cage. Okay, feeling that stretch. Also feeling from time to time the bookends of the spine, right? The occiput, the top, and that area is resting. The sacrum, right around the tailbone. You can kind of feel those two ends and the dynamic pull between those two in so many of these shapes. Okay, resting and breathing slow. Now let's continue on this track for the left side body. Okay, so we just move the left arm down. Okay, we push the sand over, or just not on your hip in general. And then kind of feel the bone structure that centers your right hip, right? That's, fairly obvious, but it's this middle stuff that's kind of the mystery. It's the mystery goop, right? The organs, and kind of noticing how you twist, how they respond, if there's, collaboration or an ability to strengthen in here. I think these are great shapes for that. Is just love this, the rib movement, the side body lengthening. So when you do turn, it is a little bit of challenge in our back muscles. Some of us feel strain. So when you do roll, I would bring the left leg to the right leg, and then I just roll my ribs and use my hands to bring myself up. And then let's just take a seat on our bolster. Okay? So take a seat, grab a block. You don't want them behind you anyway, so get rid of both of those from behind you, bring them forward because we'll fall into them. And then just put your right foot on top of the block. So the left knee points out. So what I like to do is when I'm starting to get into the side reach again from seated, is just put a sandbag on the top of that left thigh. Now, I'm not a big fan of this knee pointing to the floor like that, so I'll just put a ball under it. I'm going to use the ball on the right side in a bit, but for now, I can put a block or a ball, either one, or a blanket for that matter. Yeah, probably my teacher would say use a blanket, I bet. I'm going to remember that. So use a blanket. Remember, you don't want it too high, and you don't want it too low. Okay, and you can stuff it in. The nice thing about a blanket, it's going to cover more territory under the leg. Ball's only going to be a little small spot. So you get to be the decider. Okay. Now, try to center forward. Okay, so the back of the pelvis, so important, right? You can even put your knuckles back there. And as you lean forward, try to stretch out of that lower back area, like you're lifting up the rib cage. Okay, so just consider the centerpiece of the body, trying to lift up out of that sacrum, or just the back of the pelvis. Okay. Now we don't want to lose this width in the back when we take a side stretch. We don't want this to kind of like contract. So kind of keep aware of that. And then as you come back up, you're going to take the right leg, stretch it out, however naturally it goes. Like if it goes just to about, 1 o'clock, that's great. I wouldn't force it at all. So place the ball under the right knee. And then I'm just going to use a block because this is easier. I'm going to place the block beside my right leg at the highest setting so I can start with comfort. And I'm going to reach to the right. So I'm going to pivot out of my sacrum. I'm going to stretch the right elbow down to that block. I'm going to bring it as close in as I please. And then try to get the waist to turn and stretch the left arm over the left side of my face. Irish Spring moment, right? Get that reach. Now, if you're reaching, you can certainly turn your head down to that right arm, because where else will it go? That might actually feel kind of interesting in your neck. If interesting isn't good for you, you can definitely keep it turned, center, over to the left. Remember, it's a gliding joint here at the top of my spine, the movement. Okay, I can tilt it side to side. I can turn it. I just don't want to roll my neck. We don't roll our neck. Okay, so left arm stretches behind you to open up the left shoulder. Left hand to the back. Maybe the front of the hand just gently presses. It's always good to get this motion. Now, some of us might feel like we want the arm open like that. So you get to decide. If that's comfortable for you, you can. But okay, now as we take another couple moments here, breathing through the side body, feel. And now feel from your sitting bones. Right side press. Come on up. Left side press. Okay. And then we just switch. So right foot onto that block is getting that feel. So I want you to lean, get a feeling here, kind of the full deal. So for that right hip. Okay, now I'm going to switch. So I'm going to take my blanket. I'm using blanket today. That's what I like to use. Under my right knee. Okay, so when we switch, we're going to bring the right foot off the block. Left foot goes up for right now. Okay, and I take the sand to my right thigh. Okay, this side, my blanket needs to go higher under my leg. Okay, it's my challenged knee. So I'm going to put my blanket a little higher up on the right side to support. And I'm just feeling that ability to reach forward. Just keep it simple. You might find, This hip feels a little bit different. Remember, your core can kind of swivel. You can move a little side to side. It's your experience, right? You can definitely feel how the range of motion tilts forward at the hinge of the hips and it gathers into the adductor on this left leg. It kind of has a gathering. It's an adductor gathering. Okay, an adductor gathering of energy here. Left knee points out. Now, you don't have to be bossy with your hands on your hips. You can have your hands to your back. You can bring your hands to your bolster. I think I'm liking that. And then I'm going to encourage you to be a little bit curious about coordination here with your movement coordination. So hands to the bolster or to the hips, and then feel if you can just move that left leg out to about 10 or 11 o'clock on that left side. Take the ball under that left knee, just under it. Block over besides the left leg, highest setting that you can. Turn to the right and lean the left elbow down. And feel the waist turn. Okay. All right, you do have more weight on your left sitting bone. If you're like, what do I have to have it even? I'm leaning to my left sitting bone. I'm stretching my left thigh. Okay. I'm also opening my right hip. So I got a lot going on here. So when I lean in, the right arm stretches over the right side of the face. A or B, it's behind your back. Okay, only a couple options on that one. So as you're reaching through the right arm, feel that opportunity for the rib cage. Breathe. It only helps. Okay, now we're not really pushing the twist on this one like I have before. So I'm trying to encourage you to get that length in the middle and reaching. I mean, there's a forward bend, a back bend. There's some sort of twist in this pose, I'm sure. There's all of the directions, but you're basically kind of careening over to the left side. Now, when the right arm goes behind your back, yeah, you could twist to come out, but it's also okay to find that center and then bring your left foot up onto the block and lean. Oh, this is nice. I got a block over here under my leg. Makes it a little easier for me. Move it maybe a little lower. And take a moment, just lean forward. Now bring both arms forward. Okay, and then just kind of visualize you have a block between your hands. We won't get a block, just have that block visualization between your hands. Like you're pushing into the block. Okay, and then lift up with the arms and stretch them back out. Okay, shrug the shoulders up and roll them back. Take a few really deep focus of shoulder shrug. Lifting the shoulders, shrugging and rolling. We'll call it strolling. Okay. Now, as we come off of the block, we're going to place the ball off to the side. And then I want you to have your blocks over to the right and your sand in your lap and a blanket behind you, one blanket only. Okay? So when you come onto the back, you're going to be sitting on your bolster. You're going to shift your hips a little forward so that you're right on the edge of it with your bum. And then you just slide so the tailbone's at the center edge. And then you're going to come back and you're going to bring your sand onto your belly. And then once you're on your back and your blanket's under your head, be sure it's not under your neck, the blanket. Okay. Never good for backs, right? To have this blanket under my neck and my shoulders. So I just want it so I can create that curve in the good curve in my neck, right? Not the rounded curve, but the good curve. Okay. So if the bolster's too far up, you can always move it down. But you don't want to feel like your back is complaining. That's a key. Now with the sand, we're going to place it at the soles of the feet and push the sand and the legs to stretch. Yeah. Feel how the feet flex and what happens through the calves. Now, some If the sand is closer to the balls of the feet, it's going to be more calf stretch. And many of us would really love to get more circulation into the base of our body, because as we get older, right, this is the area that definitely has the challenge, is our calves and our feet, and good circulation in here. That would be the story. So just have that sand to bring more flow, reverse that directional flow. The directional flow goes towards the abdomen, to my heart and my lungs. So just let your arms open to goalpost. Okay? You don't need to have anything under your elbows, but the floor, nothing pushing them up. Just let the elbows relax. Now let's take a few breaths here. Okay, now we're trying to keep the line of energy in the back of the thighs just vertical, not drawing the legs towards the chest, just straight up and down. Okay. Okay, now with that lift of the thighs, right, that full stretch through the back of the leg, through the back of the knee, because it's kind of pushing upside down. You have to kind of push to get upside down, but then when you're upside down, it's reversing that flow back towards the top of the body. So it's pretty interesting and simple and not interesting. So now as you bend through the legs, I want us to keep our hips up for the hip, the deep hip work today. So we're going to have our hips up on the bolster. Now, I've got the block on. Now I'm going to put one on each side of my short end of my bolster. And I'm going to have them up at the second setting. So they're not too high, but they're not too low. Okay. All right. So bending through the legs, which means that lots of parts have to crease. You're going to place the sand, and be careful, it doesn't go on the knees, no sand on knees. You're going to bring the sand back to the abdominals so they can kind of center. And then just let the knees go side to side. You know, and the sand's going to kind of move, right? It's going to tip up and down. Okay, teeter-tottering. Okay, now take the time to let the knees go to the right side. Make sure the block is there to support you. And if they go pretty far over, and then add your sand to the outer left hip. Okay, we've done the hip stuff before, but the leg was kind of straight. It had bend in it because that's what knees do, but it was sort of straight when we did side sage. It was elongated curve, but it was not the bend in the knee wasn't quite this much. So now we have a little more bend in the knee. So what I like to do sometimes is just touch my left hip bone and then my outside of my right knee, and just feel that supportive length. Like I'm trying to get those two, not to pull all the way apart, but to elongate, to stretch out my hip. So the sand could be wherever it feels right for you. So if you want your sand a little lower, if you want your sand a little higher, it should be comfortable for your, especially for your knee, but even more so for the inner hip, right? So if I slide my sand too far down to my knee, sometimes it feels like some weird area in my inner hip doesn't feel good. So it should feel like a stretch is good enough. Okay, now, as my legs are over there on the right side, my legs aren't perfectly stacked. My left knee is not right on top of my right knee, but they are reaching over. I have a pelvis in the middle, so it's not going to be a perfect stack. But with the arms open, see if you can let your head just gently roll to the left. So head just turns to the left side. And let the deep work happen, right? We've got the right hip being pushed up. This is called the ERT, Elevated Reclining Twist. It's in the original Relax and Renew book, okay? The Restorative Yoga Bible, okay? ERT. You want to see some good black and white pictures of yoga poses, it's this one. But when you're feeling that reach, it might kind of peel off into the back corner of the hip, into the feeling of the pelvis. right? This whole pelvis hip situation. And then there's the situation of the bones. Take a few more breaths. We're going to link this into brain float, I think. This is going to work really good. An old yoga loft memory will come back in the way we sequence this one. Okay, so left hip, sand. I'm going to keep the sand on my left leg. I'm not going to move it off the leg, but it's just going to move to the front of the leg. So grab a hold of the sand. Careful for your back here. So I would just be really cautious here. When you do let the left leg stretch straight down, you're going to move the sand to the top of the thigh. You're going to bring the right knee up so you don't pull anything in the back. Keep the sand on the top of the left thigh. Okay. All right. Okay, now I feel like my back isn't super happy, so I'm going to take a moment, kind of shake my hips a bit, and then get my belt, get your yoga belt, and place it under your right foot. Stretch the right leg up. Now, part of it is not always practicing the sequence. This is a pretty flexibility-driven hip sequence, right? So your hip has to have a certain amount of range and coordination to actually collaborate that way. So if it's been a while since you collaborated that way with your hip, it's normal if you don't do that often to be surprised. Okay, so buckle up. If you like to do brain float, if you're like I don't do brain float person, then don't worry about this chart. But buckle up. I know that woke you up. Place the big loop under the occiput. So the center of the back of your head, right? You can feel that shelf. You're going to support the neck stretch. The leg is up. And breathe. Now, the left leg doesn't have to stay straight-ish. It can bend. Okay? What you might do is slide a little bit on the rib cage back so you can feel the support. I'm not touching my blanket with my head, but I could. I could loosen it up. You get to decide. Okay, I suppose some people might like the blanket under their shoulders on this one. Like just at the top. Okay, that feels pretty good. I think I like that. All right, so lean back. Feel that right back line. And not just the hamstring, but the calf, the foot. Good things happening inside. You know, feel the abdomen move with your breath. You know, it's kind of interesting as we shift into the second hip crossover, is that the back line of the right thigh, right from the foot to the calf, behind the knee, this whole back lane is getting that reverse, reversing the directional pull. You could say the gravitational pull on the muscles of the leg, the directional flow in the circulation, all the fluids that are in our skin layer under that, so many fluids. It's a little ocean in there. It's an ocean of bones. Okay. All right, now as you're holding your head in the belt, right, you're going to slide the sand off the left thigh. Bring it to the belly. If you don't like your sand on your belly, I understand. You can have it on the side. Hold the back of your head. Slide that left foot in if it hasn't already. Okay. Bring your left foot up into the belt. Take a moment here. Take the belt off the back of your head. Head back. Maybe move the blanket so it's in a good position. Push the feet out. Okay, sand goes off to the side so the abdomen can expand and relax at its own free will here. So after we do any kind of, we did do a twist a little while ago. We want the belly organs to expand and relax. So take a leg flip, feet are out wide in the belt. And I might even suggest that you don't make it too wide, right? Just be, be realistic here on what's comfortable for your hip joints. You don't need to go very far to get benefit. So it's about the benefit of circulation, the nourishment back to the lymph nodes here in the leg pits. So that would be the priority focus, is the leg pits. Now bend your knees. You can definitely let the legs go side to side. There's nothing saying you can't move them around, and enjoy it a little bit. Just feel that rocking in the hips. Okay, now you might pull on the belt. You might get a hold of it, especially if your eyes are relaxed. You can feel your way into shifting. Pull, and then slide your feet together by pulling the belt with both hands towards your chest. Okay. Bend your knees. Take the belt off your feet, and then bring your knees to the left side on a block near you. Where did my block go? Okay, so knees to the left. Now again, it might be a different hip, I hope. Another hip, I hope. Likely your legs are aligned similar on that second side if you keep on that bolster. So my sand goes across. Okay. This is your best option for your sandbag. If you drop it horizontal, now some people might like that extra intensity, but I'm just going to stay with the standards here, the basic instruction. Okay. So if I keep that hip supported, in some ways you're stacking the hips, right? Your sitting bones have that little stretch. You're going to stretch the hip. Right arm is open, straight out to the side. And then let your head roll to the right. Just feeling where the weight is, because it's key that we have this weight bearing into the femur and the hip, right? So those connecting dots are connecting bones. Right? If you're connecting the dots and what needs the weight bearing, it's this spot. It's a big deal. So doing these stretches are going to push to the end range of the muscle. And then you add a little bit of weight. And boom, the osteoblasts get going. It's a little osteoblast party in there. So take a little time. Some people like to stretch the legs out. Again, I'm trying to keep it like just follow the rules for the bones. Keeping it simple. Take a few moments. Okay, now we're going to shift. So we're going to move, and it might be easier on side two. You might be surprised. So when you lower that right thigh down and the left knee in, sometimes I can be surprised, like one side has a little catch in it, one side's not the same. So just try to give it even support, equal opportunity, side two. So get that belt under that left foot, lift up the leg, I hope. Is it still functioning? Okay, big loop, and then maybe it's too small. Maybe a bigger loop. Bigger loop. Okay. So around the back of your head. So when you're placing that belt to the back, be careful here that you're not straining your neck. There's no no purpose to strain it, okay? This is not the time of life to start straining your neck. So when you have that sandbag on the thigh, it could be a cross. It seems to make sense it'd be lengthwise, doesn't it? Okay, for the femur. So just notice in some ways we do weight bearing, but we also want to do it positionally in a good posture for the femur. So it's not like I just want to slap a sandbag on. Oh, yay. I kind of want to go down the line of the bone. Okay? Because it's not only weight bearing, but it's also posture. Okay, so we want to couple those together. And sometimes I get a reminder like, wait a minute, is that posturally how I want that femur to sit in the hip? So as you're centering back into the belt, you get to decide, is it too short? Is it too long? Go with feeling. This is kind of important because today what we're going to do when we link up to the wall, which is really soon. And if you don't use the wall for legs up, that's okay. You can make a bolster bench or you can have legs up in the middle of the room too. That's fine. But I like to use the wall so I have maximum support so I can let go and focus on other areas of the body too. Because, relaxation, I guess it requires a little focus. Maybe that's silly to say, but it requires a way to set up the breathing pathway. You take a moment ahead here to feel where that bottom leg is resting. Okay, now if you feel the left leg is like really straight and pressing, do a little micro bend of the left knee and slide the sand off to the side. Bring your right thigh in. Take a hold of that belt. Slide it off the back of your head. And then as you bend the left knee, take the belt off your foot. Okay, knees towards chest. Bring them in, and push the bolster down away from the back of your pelvis. But place your feet on top of the bolster and then push into your feet, lift your hips up and put a ball at your sacrum, okay, at the back of the pelvis. So before we get legs up, I just want to take a moment because some of us might do, if you don't like to do legs up the wall, you could put a block under your pelvis and have the legs up if you don't use your bolster. That's a really good one. I think that's actually excellent. But just get the sacrum a little bit of shearing right now because it's been up on the bolster all this time, right, in bridge pose the whole time. So it's nice to get a little bit of, heat and movement across the back of the pelvis. Okay. And then you're going to lift your hips and move the ball to the side. And then as you bring your knees over to the side, use your hands to bring you up. And then let's take our bolster right up to the wall. If you're not using the bolster at the wall, remember you can be in the middle. You can make a bolster bench by putting your blocks under your bolster, right? If you're not so sure, if you don't do legs up, which you can go into now, you can go into this, right? And legs up. I'd say put a blanket on top as well. Okay, but otherwise, you don't want to make a bolster bench and then put your legs up the wall. But I've never tried that, so maybe I should try it before I say I'll do it. Okay. All right, now blanket center towards the wall. Bring your hips up on the bolster. Go right to the edge and then swing your legs up. So you got to roll a little bit on your sacrum and then the legs elevate. Okay, so this time today we've had, 2 inversion cycles back to back. So it would be interesting if you journaled after this class. Do a comparison. You only have to write 3 sentences week to week. How do you feel? And we could base it around what we did. We could have a sequence. That'd be kind of fun. So place your sand on the soles of your feet. Let the legs elevate. And when they're lifted, because they're already lifted, the pelvis is up. Now, if you're with another setup for the legs to be up on, that's perfect, right? You still have the energetic of inversion, which is reversing the effects of gravity on the heart. Okay, so blanket under your head. If you have an eye pillow, place that across your eyes. If you're using your natural eye pillows, your eyelids, kind of feel, how do you relax those in this position? It's a whole energy, just how do I relax into my brain? Okay, so as the heart slows down, the blood pressure lowers, the elbows are wide. Receive your breath and relax on your out breath. Feel the momentum of the abdomen, the belly. And it does require some input, right? You can't just kind of pass out and get some benefit. You want to find how you are, changing the cycle of circulation by turning the body upside down, changing the circulation in the pelvis, the pelvic floor, the vital organs. This is great, right? You're turning it upside down, shaking it up, a little bit of juicing in the body this way, in the blender. And with the arms open, there's always further to release in the body. So find an area you can just pinpoint to breathe into, a place that you could use support. I mean, it might even be focusing around the knee or an area that is not feeling great. You can bring your focus there to heal. Now just shift the feet away from the wall just a little bit. If your legs are up on the bolster bench, just stay a few more moments. And then bend your knees. Give your feet a lift, a relaxation without anything on them for some time before they get stepped on again. They get stepped on all the time. Let your feet just be a little tingly, a little relaxed, no pressure. Pressure free. And just put into your muscle memory what this feels like in the space of your back. So just getting your legs up, even if you're not on your bolster under your pelvis, is going to be beneficial. So just keep that memory in the body to return to again. Then let the legs bend. And so the thighs kind of crash into the digestive tract. And then your hands hold either below the knees or the back of the thighs. We don't want to kind of jam the knees, right? The kneecaps. So just keep them free. Free the kneecaps and then roll to a side. Let your arms kind of go with that roll. The legs have to go, but the arms drop down. And then you push. There's always a little bit of effort there just to come on up, but take a moment to rise into your sitting bones. It's like halfway up. It's not even quite halfway up, but find the sitting bones and the nature of the pelvis and the basin around to the knees to bring yourself up. Bring your hands to join and feel the palms touch, feel the finger pads. Feel a little space at the heel of the hands. I kind of feel when the palms completely merge, there's even a little gap there, an openness. Let that be open. And let's unite our breath to breathe in wellness to ourselves and to others. Deep breath in, belly soft. And as we exhale, bowing into the peace within your heart.